Alright, the next thing to do is to get ready to actually mount the power puck. Now again, we have the wheel off of here, which makes life a little easier. Do you have to do it? Absolutely not. So first what we're going to do is we're going to remove this cotter pin. Just bend the two tabs over. Okay, now we've got that out. Now the next thing we're going to need to do is to drill a small hole from there to the center of the axle. And you can see again, this is approximately a 1/8 diameter hole. And again, depending on the size of your wire, how many you're running through, that'll determine how big this hole should be. But 1/8 should be more than adequate. You should only really be running 2 wires here. So you can see you can get at it from that angle. Okay, you can see that we've come around to the other side of the bike, or the outside of the wheel. And the next thing you're going to need to do is to drill a 1/8 hole. It's going to be dead down through the center of the shaft. And again, for any of the guys that are concerned that this is going to do any damage to their shaft, that shaft measures at least 1 inch in diameter at the thin end on the far side of this, and drilling a 1/8 hole in there really doesn't mean beans. This is where you're going to run your wires from the puck to this side of the wheel. Take your time with it. It's probably about a 2-inch long hole. Take your time, pull a drill out every now and again, make sure the chips are clear, use a little cutting oil. Or believe it or not, bacon fat is a great lubricant when you're doing things like this. And again, just take your time. You do fine. Okay, so now we're back around to the inside of the bike, and you can see where the hole popped through for the wire run. Now, before we had said drill the 1/8 hole through the side of the axle. That only goes through one side. I want to be clear of that. So now, in order to make installation a little simpler, we'll put the cotter pin back in place temporarily. And what you want to do is to just put a small bend in the cotter pin so that it'll be easier to run your wires later. The center of the cotter pin ends up being at the same location as that through hole in the axle. So you can see we just put a little bend in the cotter pin so that when the wires come through, they'll be easy to get past that cotter pin. Okay, now it's time to install this side of the power puck. This is essentially the receiving end. This is the part that's going to take the power and transfer it through the wheel. You can see we've got 2 gold rings mounted in this plastic housing, and then we've got the wire coming out of the back. This is the way you'll receive it. Now, during installation of this, you're going to need to use a rubber mallet, or if you don't have that, use a piece of wood that's over the outside diameter of this. You'll see there's a small lip, probably very difficult to see, but there's a small lip here. You don't want to be hitting on the gold portion. You don't want to be hitting on this. You want to be tapping around this outside edge. Now, tapping on that outside edge is going to bring this surface of this unit back to the washers on the back of the spindle. And this whole unit will spin as an assembly. Alright, now what we've done already is we've bent over the cotter pin, cut the ends, and we've also started the wire in through that side hole and then out through the center. And you can see that. We'll zoom in a little bit here so that you can see what we did. Alright, now Andy's going to go ahead and finish pulling the wire through. Takes a little bit of time here. If you want to put a little soap on. And another thing to remember is make sure you deburr all the edges wherever you drill, so that the wire doesn't get cut or chafed when you're dealing with it or when it's in operation. Now you can see he ran it back out through the center of the puck, and now he's slipping it over the nut that's holding the axle in. Now it's a snug fit over that nut, and that's the way it's supposed to be. Basically, by tapping it in, that's going to be one of the ways that it's held in place, that it's retained. Okay, looks like we've got that basically down and tight. Give it a spin, make sure everything clears. If you see that it's not flush, tap it again. Again, the main thing is to always take your time with these installations. Don't be in a hurry. There's always time to do it a second time, but never enough time to do it the correct first time. Well, take your time.